You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Jr. Welcoming you to the lap of the extra mile for today, July 11th, 2024. And we had a lot of folks with a lot of poor streaks going on, getting their wins this weekend. It was a fun and still rainy time in Chicago. And help me talk about all of that, of course, are my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman, Jenn B, Michael Ward.
How's it going tonight?
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Make sure to get your comments in as we begin today's program. And, of course, make sure to reach out to us if you want to talk to us during the week. Before that, make sure you follow IE Sports Radio on X, IG, Facebook, and TikTok. You're probably watching this on a couple of those platforms right now. And, of course, iSports Radio podcasts are available right there wherever you hear your podcasts. So we're going to get things started in just a little bit. First, I want to say hi to everyone. We're finally back as a foursome again. I moved, so we missed a couple episodes. And then Jenn B moved, so she missed a couple episodes. So I did say that when Jenn came back, and by the way, this is our Twitter at @ExtraMileIESR, that we had a special announcement regarding Jenn, but we're going to have that right after we pay some bills with Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. So stay right there. We'll be right back.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Thank you so very much to Seal the Deal Wax Seals and Planet Jerky Premium Beef Brisket Beef Jerky for being the fine sponsors here at IE Sports Radio. We're back here on the Extra Mile with myself, Christopher Lehman, Jenn B, and Michael Ward. And before we get started, as I said before Jenn was away from us, we did have an announcement that was coming up. Jenn has been with us as a partial host, or as a part-time host for a little while, but I do want to announce that going forward, Jenn B is going to be joining us on a more permanent basis as the official third host of the Extra Mile. So he'll now be with Darryl Kinsey, Christopher Lehman, and Jenn B. So Jenn, congratulations. Welcome in.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you too. We're going to go ahead and get things started. We're going to start with Formula One and the British Grand Prix. And ladies and gentlemen, he's Lewis Hamilton picks up the win in the British Grand Prix. And if you saw our Twitter on Sunday, I may have been just a little excited to see Lewis Hamilton win his first race in 3 years. There totally weren't tears, and I totally didn't drop my phone celebrating.
Monumental win, too.
Yes, win number 104, first driver to win after start number 300. Let's go around the table. It was not something I was expecting going into the weekend.
Track, which broke the record.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was a monumental. I was happy for him. I was pretty psyched for him. I thought maybe with the hard tires, maybe Max had a chance. But I'm happy that Hamilton got his win. In front of the home crowd and all of that, and just kind of pulling up Terrence's comment here. We'll get into the Verstappen's not invincible a little bit later, but for right now, we are going to celebrate. We are going to celebrate the return of the Ham.
Yes, we are. And Jen, this is like when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl when he hadn't been there in a few years. This is incredible. For everybody that is a Lewis Hamilton fan, we know how things have been since December 2021. They haven't been fun. And it was a real celebration to see him back up on top of the podium.
I'm shocked that it's not Max. The only time he hasn't won is the one time I picked him.
Yep. Gotta love when nearest to win when it doesn't go your way, especially when you pick a driver that, they're going to win, and of course they don't. Michael, we'll get into your team in a little bit because they're having some issues as well. But for one day, it's like all was right in the Formula One world again. I think that was a very popular win, which is something you wouldn't have said 4 years ago because every other week Lewis Hamilton was winning, and we kind of forgot what it was like to see him on the podium.
Yeah, we definitely got accustomed to it being either a Red Bull, a Ferrari, or a McLaren, or, maybe Russell. So seeing him on the top step was definitely great to see, and I think that's going to be for him personally. I think that's going to be like one of his most memorable wins.
Yes. He got that one. Go ahead.
Because he went through so much hardship, and so many people were saying, "Oh, he's washed" and everything like that, and to finally go ahead and get that win on merit, mind you. I think he's got to be feeling really good about himself.
Yeah, he's got to be feeling good. 9 wins, as we said earlier, at one track, breaks the record held by the previous GOAT, Michael Schumacher, but Lewis Hamilton firmly establishes that GOAT resume. And in a race that was not cut and dry, but at the same time, this was the weekend for Mercedes that they have been searching for a while. We've seen this car come along this season, and sometimes have had some flashes of brilliance. But guys, this was the week where even for all weekend, they legitimately had pace. And I think the biggest surprise for everyone was Saturday when they went 1-2 in qualifying in a race that I think a lot of folks thought they weren't going to have the race pace either, but a lot of changeable conditions that was beneficial to Mercedes.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of changeable conditions. I heard the Mercedes works a lot better under cooler temperatures, so maybe that had the fluctuating temperature had a difference. And also, you had to factor in the rain, and I think they just handled it pretty good this week. Their strategy was on point.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier they were having some blunders, but it looks like they've, fixed that.
Speaking of the blunders, you see someone there in third, Lando Norris, the McLaren Mercedes. That is the team that everyone has really anointed as best on the grid now, usurping Red Bull, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yet again, another strategy blunder for McLaren, this time during the changeable conditions, going to the dry tires. They decide to put Lando on softs. He can't make them last, and he ends up third behind Max Verstappen in yet another race that was winnable for McLaren. A few weeks ago, we were talking about this team possibly, Lando Norris possibly being in the driver's seat to maybe usurp Max Verstappen in the World Drivers' Championship standings. But Chris, the way it's sitting right now, Max may still win that championship just because McLaren can't get it right.
Yeah, I haven't been in doubt about Max winning. McLaren getting a little bit closer, but there's a lot more to it than just having a fast car and good drivers. And if you don't have Hannah Schmitz on your pit wall, I feel sorry for you because she is a queen.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, she's the Red Bull strategist. So, but yeah, McLaren definitely has the potential. They just need to get some other things figured out, as far as strategy and all that good stuff.
It's got to be frustrating for them to know they have such a good car and they just cannot make it happen when it comes to the races. Oscar Piastri ended up as you can see the point standings right now, Lando is in second over Charles Leclerc, but that gap has grown despite Max finishing third. Despite Max not winning, the lead still grows, although slightly, because Lando was right behind him at 255 points for Max, 171 for Lando. And you can see the rest of the points there on your screen. But you scroll down here and you see the Mercedes drivers, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton. They've been pretty even. Lewis gets some big points, but George, they have to retire that car after damage. That's another one of those drivers that, Jen, he's got a lot of promise, or has had a lot of promise, but a lot of it is not clicking, and he is the guy starting next year, so it's going to be all on him to get the results when Mercedes puts whoever they're going to put in that second seat next week or next year. It says 111 to 110.
Yeah. It's big shoes to fill for sure. Yeah. And they're going to have to figure it out.
Well, they're going to have to figure out how to replace the 7-time champion, which is not easy. We've seen other organizations try to replace their big champions. It doesn't really work out.
Maybe you shouldn't go to Ferrari.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this is going to come over there. I mean, I think the performance is going to blend over when we get there. I don't think Lewis is done by any sorts of the imagination, but unfortunately, McLaren still lacking in strategy, and Red Bull right now lacking in everything, as by their standards, they've been in a slump, and unfortunately, they've got a lot going on in the background because and it started this year with the situation regarding Horner and inappropriate messages between a staffer over there at Red Bull. It hasn't gotten any better. Now, him and Jos Verstappen are going at it with some sort of strange pecking order contest they have over there. That's how I'll put that. It's
trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out who Max loves more.
Yeah, it's like two divorced parents. It's two divorced parents fighting over the kid at this point. And I hate to go to our resident Red Bull fan with this one first, but Chris, what is going on over there?
Beats me. Beats anybody that tells you they know what's going on is lying to you.
I really want to know what Chris's feelings on Perez after this weekend is.
I think I have been very vocal the last couple of weeks about what my thoughts on Checo are. We'll discuss. We can jump right into the next banner that I made.
First of all, should he be replaced? Because according to Horner, the contract extension was, to motivate him to do better.
It didn't.
It did the opposite.
It's done the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been coming out and questioning Horner over that, saying that, are you sure about that?
Yeah. Marco said today that that Checo's situation will be reevaluated on the summer break, which means he's fired.
Not the right one.
As far as I'm curious on who should replace Checo, and the only person that I want to see get a shot at that second seat is Yuki. I want to
put Yuki Tsunoda in.
I want to see Yuki get a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to see Yuki get a shot. I think Ricciardo. I don't want to say his time is done, but
he's washed.
It's kind of done.
Ricciardo is a great face. He's a great guy. He doesn't have it.
He's a personality hire.
That. Yeah.
I think he had it. I think he had it at one point, and I think his McLaren stint, he just lost it.
Yeah.
Well, he also got to McLaren at the worst time, so that kind of sucks your confidence. And Jenn, I hate to bring comparisons with your football team over there. I see this. You kind of know where this is going, but is this kind of like the Deshaun Watson contract for you guys over there, where you gave him this big deal based on potential and it's not working out?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 years left, so hopefully he'll play more than 6 games.
Yeah. And ironically, there's 2 years left as well with Sergio, if he even gets through this, because they're gonna.
There are clauses that say if he doesn't perform this,
he does have a performance clause.
Yeah, so
I think he has to be within 100 points of max or 5 positions, if I'm correct.
Helmut Marco said that there's a performance contract or a performance clause.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
And there is a test session that Red Bull is having with Liam Lawson. I was about to say Liam Neeson again.
He's got a very particular set of skills.
I don't think that guy would fit in a Formula One car.
No.
Here's the thing. I'm going to show you something that's going to be surprising. This is Sergio Perez's stats on Formula1.com. He has not had a podium legitimately in 2 months. No, 3 months. Sorry.
His 2023 season, unironically, is a lot better than his 2024 season, and you can kind of chalk that up to a lot of teams gaining performance, over Red Bull this year. But it's still if you contrast last year to this year, it's something. His performance at the end of last year carried over into this year.
Yeah. It's surprising. I like Checo. He was at one point the only likable person over there just because of all the drama that was going on. All of a sudden, it's all gone away. I don't understand. And you can say that, they only set up the car for Max. That's not an excuse anymore. He has just legitimately been bad.
It's definitely not an excuse when it comes to Verstappen, because Verstappen just straight up said, I can drive anything.
Yeah.
and Red Bull took that personally. So,
well, for Checo, get ready to learn IndyCar, bud, because get ready to learn IndyCar, Bucko, because you're pretty much done. And speaking of pretty much done, calling Charles Leclerc, did you forget that you were supposed to be the championship rival?
we don't know. I don't know what's been happening with him.
Yeah.
It's like he sold his soul to win the Monaco Grand Prix.
I think that's what happened.
It could be.
He's fallen to third, and since then, he has not finished any higher than 5th place. Now, unfortunately, Great Britain was another Ferrari strategy disaster class.
Really, some people seem to think. Some people seem to say that it was more so Charles's fault because at the time of the rain, his tires were falling off, and he was complaining that his tires were falling off and that he needed to box. So he was saying, "My tires are falling off. Can I pit and get inters?" For at the time, it wasn't time for inters. So you could make the argument, well, he could have stayed out longer. The rain could have came out, and then he got some fresh inters, or Ferrari could have denied his request. He could have. There's a lot of things people say could have happened, but just they kind of complied with Charles there when usually they don't. So I think it's just a blunder on both hands of why that strategy didn't work out.
Well, we talk about contract folks and whether or not Lewis should still go over to Ferrari. Should Ferrari still keep Charles Leclerc in that second car? I know it's a hot take, but Sainz has been more consistent than Leclerc this year. And it's really showing right now because Sainz was able to get back to 5th.
I think Sainz has shot himself in the foot with this 2025 seat thing. It sounds like maybe Williams is kind of pulling the offer.
Because he won't make a decision. I don't know what he's waiting for, but he's like just sitting on his hands like, I'm not going to rush it, dude. There's like 2 seats.
Well, apparently what's happening is he is waiting for the Mercedes seat, but Mercedes is kind of hot and cold depending on what
Antonelli's doing.
No, not even Antonelli. Well, like Antonelli's their second choice, but they're still, from what I understand, remotely optimistic that they'll get Max.
They see, everything is a holding pattern. It's weird that Max Verstappen is holding up the 2025 driver market.
Since he's under contract through 2028?
Yeah, like he still has a contract, and yet everybody's waiting on him to figure it out. Because
it's kind of funny because I've read multiple articles that he just outright said no. So I'm just kind of like, okay, well, he already said no.
Who knows? His dads are beefing, so
blind optimism can really mess you up, though.
Yeah. So that was the end, by the way, of the Formula One. The first set of the Formula One sets of 3 races. Sorry, the triple header. Before we go to Hungary and then go to Belgium at the end of July before we start the summer break. And a Formula One season that we thought was all for naught. It's going to be intriguing down the second half to see if Max Verstappen can protect this championship lead because he has a large advantage right now. But Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, they've got some chances. Maybe Lewis Hamilton can go up there and play spoiler. We'll see.
I mean, maybe McLaren, Ferrari. They had to. That's how you know they're kind of in a bad way. They had to revert back to their Imola spec car because the new one isn't performing well. So
you hate it when that is a good mechanic
That is why I'm just like, are you sure you want to go to Ferrari, Lewis? Because we're kind of dumb.
Well, if he brings a bunch of people from Mercedes, it might change. But hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into NASCAR in Chicago. And can the weather gods please leave NASCAR alone? We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. The foursome is here tonight with myself, Chris, Jenn B, and Michael Ward as we get ready to get into some NASCAR this evening. And we're going to start with the renaming Chicago because I don't know if you guys saw that race, but it rained a little bit again.
It's no longer the windy city; it's the rainy city.
Jen, I was watching that race on Sunday, and it's like it was a 20%. I want to tell everybody we didn't have a show on July 4th. It was a 20% chance of rain.
20%.
20% chance. They were not talking about storms like that at all. And the NASCAR race starts and the skies open up. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You cannot make this up.
I'm not surprised because being in Cleveland, I have similar weather to Chicago. So it's like that a lot over here too. You'll go outside and it'll be sunny as can be. And then I was driving a couple weeks ago and sunny as can be. And then all of a sudden raindrops the size of quarters falling on my windshield with the sun out. I was like, what is happening right now?
I hate it. And I hate it for NASCAR because this weekend in Chicago, this has been they don't make any money off this. They pay Chicago to do this. And the event was well attended 2 years in a row. Good TV audience 2 years in a row. And the weather doesn't cooperate on Sunday 2 years in a row. Last year didn't cooperate at all because they had a 100-year storm. This year, it's like if they wanted to do that storm's little sister. You know, I say this all the time. There's a lot of NASCAR fans who say this. If you need rain, schedule a NASCAR race. Because we could make it rain in Death Valley at this point. Snake bitten we are with the weather.
It's just God's like, there's a NASCAR race? Oh, man. Time to make it rain.
God's saying NASCAR needs to go to hybrid.
I mean, IndyCar beat us to it.
Yeah. It's frustrating. And we have not seen this race run to 75 laps yet because of the weather. Hopefully next year, which is the last year of the 3-year deal, it will run to completion. I think that would be a win. That's the only thing we're missing, to be honest. I have enjoyed the Chicago street race. I think the images of it, of these cars that do not belong on a street course, whipping around Grant Park in Chicago, has been a lot of fun. Chicago was definitely not with it last year. After the check cleared last year, all of a sudden things kind of changed, and everybody was so excited to have NASCAR there. The mayor of Chicago's there wearing a fire suit. He's having a good time. They are looking to keep this event going around long term, is what it looks like. There might be a date change to get it off that 4th of July weekend. I know NASCAR doesn't want to take it off the weekend because they don't want to be a excess disruption to the city. But I think if the city government gives their blessing, they may move it. What do you guys think? Do you think the Chicago street race should stay around long term?
Nah.
Really?
And the reason I say no is because I feel like you could try. I think it's like an exhibition type thing. Maybe you could try other street circuits around the United States. You know what I mean? See if other street circuits work.
I could see rotating it around, but at the same time, I think also, I don't know how much money they are paying to rent COTA. Maybe you could turn that into a second street race. I know they've been trying to race in the Pacific Northwest for a long time, and they haven't been able to get anything done. Maybe racing in Seattle, or, hey, we could go to Jenn's neck of the woods. They used to run at the airport out there way back when.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, Seattle and Cleveland aren't any better with the rain.
Seattle would probably be. Actually, you know what? We'd probably go to Seattle and be the one time it wouldn't rain. Jenn, you think the street race should stay around?
Yeah, I like seeing some diversity in the races. It gives a little bit of change of pace. Get to see what some of the drivers can do in different circumstances.
I think it also gives NASCAR the most diverse schedule in motorsports to be doing this. You know, they run everything from a football stadium to Grant Park and COTA. I think it makes the drivers more well-rounded. We aren't going to get into some of the other nonsense that has been going on with this race, but we will say that it has been a safe event. We haven't had any real issues. Shout out to Brett Griffin for that with that one. But I would like to see it stay around. Chris, we're 2-1. What do you think?
I like there was nobody more down on this race than I was in continuing it. Like, after last year, I said it was a great one-time race. Don't ever do it again. And if you do, try to space it out like every other year or so. But when your favorite driver wins the race, it really becomes hard to defend that point of view again. So I am all for it. Let's keep it. But Alex Bowman has a track record of when he wins, they decide to pull the race. So I wouldn't look forward to coming back here again.
Yeah, he killed Chicagoland. He killed Auto Club. He killed 100 laps at Martinsville. NASCAR has the ability to do the funniest thing ever.
And just kid, yeah.
They have the funniest. I would laugh so hard if we get to the 2025 schedule reveal
and it's not there.
Chicago's not on it, and it's like Alex Bowman is officially the track killer.
Yeah, it's like those articles you see about millennials kill everything.
Yes,
it's just like Alex Bowman kills all the fun things.
Yep. And there's your top 5 via NASCAR.com. Alex Bowman takes the win. Tyler Reddick, who was charging at the end of that race, hits the wall through turn number 4. Chris, if he doesn't hit that wall, I think we might save Grant Park as a street course, depending on how the schedule goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we talk about it in motorsports all the time, though. You can catch up to somebody, but passing them is a whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
So Reddick was
Very
charging,
true.
but he still's got to get around.
Yeah. Reddick was, for the second time, dejected after coming up short. We saw the interview after Nashville. I think he's starting to feel some pressure a little bit because the last couple of weeks he's had some great finishes, but you would not know it from the post-race interviews.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It does seem like he probably feels a little bit under the gun. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you just look at like a result like this past weekend, and he's just, always the bridesmaid. And they've got the potential. He's right there. He's running good. Just got to put together that last position.
Yep. Fourth was Joey Hand in the 60 for RFK. Had the ability to do the funniest thing ever. Be the second road course ringer to win this race. Michael McDowell rounds out the top 5. Bubba Wallace ended up finishing 13th, and that's kind of relevant because him and Alex Bowman kind of made some contact during the race. Bowman took full blame for it for his part, and then Bubba Wallace showed his displeasure at the end of the race, kind of hooked from our vantage point right. It was more of a left turn into Bowman during the cooldown lap. Got a $50,000 fine for it. That's the first time I've seen them do something like that, and we had Denny Hamlin run into, ironically, Alex Bowman at Martinsville during Alex Bowman's burnout and did not get a fine for that. Chase Elliott, back when Denny Hamlin became the villain, Elliott ran into Hamlin after the race, did not get penalized or did not get any penalty after Martinsville a few years ago. But Bubba Wallace getting a $50,000 fine. There's a Family Guy meme for this that I'm not going to show. But this ain't looking great on NASCAR. That the black guy is showing an emotion that I'm just going to say it. The black guy getting fined for doing the same type of stuff that the white drivers did does not sit well with me. But here's what I've said every time when it's been something with Bubba and they do something like this that's out of the ordinary. You better make this the standard because we do not like it when our guy gets something and everybody else doesn't. If this is going to be the standard going forward, it better be the standard for everybody after this week because you set the precedent. You better follow it.
I think that so this is kind of a difficult situation. I think if we don't have the rain break, I don't know that he gets fined. But the fact that, Alex said in his post race that he reached out to him during the rain delay and tried to make good. I personally think that that's what the difference was. Bowman tried to reach out and talk about it, and then we went back racing, and then after the race. So I think that's what the deciding factor was, because we saw Chase Elliott, who I haven't even seen footage of this, by the way, but Chase Elliott apparently bumped into Daniel Suarez. They had a little back and forth on the cool down lap as well, and nothing happened to them.
Well, Elliott kind of moved Suarez in turn 11, and Suarez put him in the tire barrier in turn 12. So that's what happened there. That one was kind of found post race, but nothing happened there either. So I don't know what the rationale is. Maybe it was because both the window nets are down. Somebody's gonna have to explain it. But
yeah,
Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace have the weirdest kind of pseudo rivalry where like every couple of years they just kind of run into each other and like get really pissed at each other, and then they have like no issues for like any other time.
Yeah, and I actually went back and rewatched some footage, and they started right next to each other, and gave each other plenty of room. And then there was another restart as well where they were next to each other, and again gave each other plenty of room. There was no issues, and it was just we shouldn't have even restarted when Bowman lost, locked up and slid there. That should have never been a restart.
Yeah.
And, it's not like it was just Bowman was the only one. There was a couple slides on that restart as well. So, yeah.
There was we almost had a wipeout on that restart. When they were coming to green, I think Bubba was one of the guys that got loose where there was a wet puddle. There was a puddle that the tires got into. There's just a whole bunch of aquaplaning. So probably wasn't the best idea to restart at that point. That just goes back to NASCAR needs to further develop this tire into a true blue rain tire. And hopefully Goodyear will start spending the money because with this climate change, the rain's going to keep coming, except for in certain areas. Our grass is turning brown out here. What's also consistent other than rain and NASCAR doing weird penalties is Noah Gragson switching teams. He's now going to his third team in 3 years as he'll be going over to Front Row Motorsports, joining Todd Gilliland, who has become the number one driver over there, ironically. Is this the place, Michael, where Noah finally finds some stability?
I think this is finally the place he'll find some stability and grow and get some of that much needed experience on track that he needs in order to get better. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think this will be a great place for him.
Jenn, Front Row Motorsports has been a team that's been around for a while in the NASCAR midfield. And now the last couple of years, they got this Penske money. They're making their way forward to try to be one of the top teams in NASCAR. And this seems to be a big swing towards that in signing Gragson.
Yeah. I mean, got to compete with the big dogs. So, hopefully it works out for both sides.
That is our hope, that it works out. Chris, I know Fox ran a thing where they said it's been like 4 teams in 6 years, but we don't really count the non-full season starts. So 3 teams in 3 years, that's got to make it hard to really get settled into a rhythm in learning Cup when you're having to learn the new building and the whole new staff 3 years in a row.
Yeah. It's consistency is something that's really important, and it doesn't really matter what you relate this to, whether it's, your own job, whether it's your favorite football team, like Jen's from Cleveland. We can talk about the 37 quarterbacks in 5 years. It all comes down to consistency. And that's when we look at organizations like Hendrick and Gibbs, and they have the opportunity to let drivers develop. And we just talked about this 2 weeks ago at length, actually, letting these young guys come in, develop, telling them you got to ride. Your job is to get better. And it pays off. You just have to have the patience. Noah was given every opportunity in Xfinity. Dale Jr. was on his podcast every week defending Noah. And his actions that were immature at best, negligent probably is more a better term. From Gregson, when after what was it 2 years ago that he had the Twitter thing or Instagram, whatever it was, he got into a little bit of trouble. We said that what we need to see out of Noah is just some mental toughness. And how does he respond to adversity? And after the legacy, the failed kind of trip there, how does he bounce back? And I think that he's doing okay. I think that he's on a trajectory that we were hoping to see him take. And I'm hoping that at FRM, who I think that they have the patience to allow him to develop, I think that this is going to be a good fit for him. And I think I could see him staying there for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. I hope it works out. Noah deserves to get he's been better this year. He deserves to have a stable ride. Hopefully things will work out. And to be honest, we see drivers that lower tier down the grid that like keep seats for a long time, a lot longer than they should. We had Harrison Burton. That experiment just did not work. He's out this year. Paul Menard had we know what his last name is and his family, but that guy has been around. That guy made a whole career out of being mid, and then one random Indy 500, or not Indy 500, Brickyard 400 win that I'm still mad about. I don't know why he decided that day was the day he was going to stay out and make the field stretch. Jeff Gordon had a chance to get 6 Brickyard 400s, damn it. But totally not bitter about that. But this tangent is going somewhere because Corey LaJoie is getting a new crew chief. It's Rodney Childers, who has helped Josh Berry and was a great help to Kevin Harvick while he was over there at Stewart Haas Racing. Usually I beat around the bush. I'm not. This is Corey LaJoie's show me something year, or he's going to be like Haley Deegan. Get ready to learn the Cars Tour, bucko. I also threw some heat at Haley Deegan, but we'll get there in a minute. Folks, what do we think about Rodney Childers to Spire? I think it shows Spire is serious at becoming a better organization, but is Corey LaJoie really that driver to get them to the next level?
That I'm not too sure about. I haven't really seen anything too spectacular from him, so that's just kind of making me think he might not be that big of a deal. But we'll see. Maybe he'll mess around and start pulling some crazy wins in a row or something like that. But for right now, I haven't really seen much.
I've never been a Corey LaJoie guy. I'm going to be honest. I think he got popular from the podcast back before drivers were really doing those. But now it hasn't gotten NBA player bad where like every mid-tier NBA player has a podcast now. But, you got Denny Hamlin doing Actions Detrimental. Junior was Junior still active when he was doing his podcast when he started it?
No.
All right, so he doesn't count, but Junior has his as a former
It was
driver.
going, and it was branded with his name, but he did not join until after he retired.
Okay. That doesn't count. But Denny with Actions Detrimental, you got a couple of drivers doing that. Well, it's really just those two doing the podcast thing, but Corey has never he built this thing about, I'm trying to build myself and I'm stacking pennies. It's like, dude, you haven't gotten to a good to a top tier ride because you're not that good. That is the fact of the matter. And Spire is starting to grow. He's had a couple of shock top 10, top 15 finishes to make you go, Spire's really doing great. But nothing about him has been exceptional. And you're getting Rodney Childers, getting a great crew chief. There are no excuses next year. If he is not competing at least for top 10s, I think they make a switch in 2026. Because at some point, you've got to go, what type of organization do we want to be? And is this driver going to get us there? And if they want to be a top-tier organization, they're probably not going to be able to do it with Corey LaJoie.
Yeah. Just to back up, yeah, this is a make or break year. And I mean, going back to the consistency thing, I'd hate to say give him 1 year and see what happens. I think you need to give 2 at a minimum, probably 3 ideally, just because it's going to take some time to get some chemistry, and Rodney's going to come in and develop the car, and he's got to figure out how to set it up for Corey and stuff. So, I mean, there's going to be quite a bit of a learning curve. I really wouldn't expect to see, at least for the couple months, to where I'd say, Corey needs to start finishing better and kind of prove that he's got it. I would say you'd be looking at like this time of year before I'm saying like put up or shut up. Mm-hmm. But so I would like to see the relationship develop for probably 2 years before I really wanted to make a definitive decision.
So something just scrolled across as I'm seeing on my Facebook feed. Matt Weaver put this story out yesterday. The option tire from North Wilkesboro is going to be making its in-season debut at Richmond August 10th to 11th. Crew chiefs will have 2 options for the tires, and they will also have the wet weather package available as well. This is going to be a night race. It's going to be interesting to see how the tire allocation works out, but it's nice to see that the red tires will be finally, NASCAR's going to give this option tire thing a try.
I don't think you lose by giving it a try. You can at least say we tried if it doesn't work. I'm excited for the potential, though. I hate the lack of strategy with NASCAR, to be honest with you. I find it a little bit frustrating. That's why I prefer IndyCar and Formula One. It's just because there's more options for strategy, especially when it comes down to tires.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting on how soft those tires are going to be. The rumor right now is NASCAR is only going to give them 2 sets of the option tires for the race, which I think that's got to be 4, to be honest. Or 3 sets. Give them like 6 sets of primes and 3 sets of the options and go that way. I think 2, the teams are going to be way too conservative to try them. If you only give them 2 sets and they don't work, then they're behind. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play this. Hopefully it'll work out, because I would like to see that type of concept be used in NASCAR more often. And NASCAR this week is going to Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, where there are some drivers that are in some desperate needs for points as the Olympic break is nearing. This is also a race where fuel mileage comes into play. We could have a shock winner shake up things as we head down towards the cutoff for the playoffs.
There's definitely potential for that. Exactly, yes.
I will say that Pocono, again, another one of the tracks that has been resurrected by the next gen car, as it wasn't the best race before. Now it is. Take that down because we're not really talking about that anymore. Now it is a race that I look forward to see these cars run. The shifting, for some reason, a lot of people like to complain about the shifting. It kind of works with these cars. They're going from 4th to 5th gear out of turn 3, get the slingshot down into turn 1. But to see these guys go 3, 4 wide on a restart down the long pond straightaway, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
And one more thing before we go ahead and take our next break of the evening. NASCAR had a special announcement at Chicago. They debuted this thing. This is the electric prototype that NASCAR is working on. Right now, there has been no announcement as to when this thing will run or if it will ever run competitively. Right now, it's just being used as a test bed with sponsorship from AB. And as this article from Zach Sterniolo says, NASCAR wants to be in the driver's seat of electrification. You would have thought on Twitter, though, when this car came out last week, that they said they were running it next year. The reactions on Twitter were not good. Knowing this fan base, I'm not surprised, but honestly, if they use it to test the electrical components that are going to go into a hybrid system for the Cup Series, that's all well and good. I could see an electric dash series, kind of like the Goodies Dash series back in the day, but the fans are going to be real weird about it. I'm just going to say that.
Well, they should get used to it because it's going to happen.
I mean, something's going to happen eventually. Jen, Chris, what are your guys' thoughts on a potential NASCAR electric series?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I will watch every race. I think that it's great, and I would like to see that run a road course alongside an internal combustion engine and just watch the people's jaws hit the floor when they realized how much faster and how much more agile that car will be.
Guys.
Yes.
Guys.
Yes.
Can we get it sponsored by the Energizer Bunny?
Energizer NASCAR, let's go.
That'd be good.
Energizer NASCAR Cup Series. Yes, let's do it.
Well, speaking of electrification, we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, IndyCar entered the hybrid era with their cars in Mid-Ohio. We'll talk about how that race went and how one driver, unfortunately, got some bad luck. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA to the grand slams of the MLB to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back, getting ready to head into the final segment of the Extra Mile here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And IndyCar was racing at Mid-Ohio this weekend. But before we get to that, Chris, Goodwood Festival of Speed has started. You were checking out some of that, some of the exhibition runs that were going on. What were some things that caught your eye?
Yeah, so the Goodwood Festival of Speed is great. It's a couple-day event that takes place over in England. It's very prestigious, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a short little track that they bring all of these hypercars, supercars, and even going back in time, there's some pre-World War II cars that were running it, and it's just a event for people that love cars. eBay Motors actually built a car with like a truck out of parts that were purchased off of eBay, and in true fashion, it didn't make it the whole way. So, it's just a great time for everybody. And so one of the things though that really caught my eye is so there's a 1-of-1 2,000 horsepower Lotus, the Avija, or however you say it. It's a production car. They made 100 something of them, but this Avija X is a 1-of-1 like hypercar, like it's all electric, and I'm just gonna show you guys the video because it's a doozy. So give me just 1 second here.
Did you see the RB17 at all?
No, that's not. That will be coming out in I think tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
It's not today. But anyway, so I'm going to show you guys this. This is the Lotus Avija X on its glory run.
And here we go. Oh, yeah. This is quite tricky because what's happening is you've got 4 electric motors, and trying to manage them with a computer when you get a big burnout like that, it's computer software issue. This one isn't drive error. There's something happened with the power going to the individual wheels that has spat him off there.
Okay, that's really interesting to know, actually. So I'm sure the driver will be relieved to hear that too. But that is for a seat. And here we go.
Here we go.
So, not the greatest day. You're muted, Darryl.
That's not what I expected to happen.
No. But anyways, for anybody interested, obviously we got quite a few people listening. If you go to, you just type in, on Twitter, like Goodwood Festival of Speed or something. They're really great. It's very high production in terms of video production. And there's just lots of great content. They got new cars, old cars. It's just, if you like cars, go ahead and check out the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's going on right now. Today was day 1 of it, and it's just a great time. It's one of those places. It's a bucket list for somebody like us, Darryl and Michael. It just, I'd love to go.
Hopefully their electric cars, the other electric cars, won't barrel into the wall this week, the rest of the week. But I would love to go to that. It's one of those awesome events that should be on your bucket list if you're a racing fan. Heading into IndyCar with Mid-Ohio, the hybrid cars made their debut, and everything was great except for the engine for Scott Dixon had some sort of electrical fault in that car, did not take the start, finished well down the order of 21 laps down. Other than that, it was a successful debut for the hybrid engines. We'll start with Scott Dixon. Michael, this was a debut, or sorry, for Scott Dixon. Usually he's got the golden horseshoe. Didn't have it on this day, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, he didn't have it. It's a shame, really. I really wanted to see what he could do today, but it'll give him the opportunity to see what he can do the next couple of races moving forward.
Yeah, Chris, it was wild to me just to see that Dixon just pulls over on the track, and someone actually made a tweet and they said, "This is how Dixon still wins the race," just joking, because somehow Scott Dixon was going to still come back from this and win the race, because you give someone like that an engine that is more fuel efficient. We know how to play strategy. He probably would have played into a factor of that race, and unfortunately, at least for 1 week, we didn't get to see it.
Yeah. I unfortunately did not. That's the only race that I didn't watch. I watched all of Formula One and all of NASCAR, but we were kind of gone midday. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as Scott Dixon goes, obviously, when you're talking about external event, or not external is the wrong term, but when you're looking for a strategy win, whether it be tire conservation, fuel conservation, whatever, Scott Dixon is always going to be a hands-on favorite for that. He's been around so long; he's great at what he does. Yeah, he would have absolutely been a factor.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him that he wasn't able to take advantage of the race, but it was very fortunate for Alex Palou. Gets his first official win in about 2 years after he takes the win at Mid-Ohio. He technically has a win this year at St. Petersburg, but that was on a technicality. It's been a while since Palou has crossed the finish line first in an IndyCar race, and it's got to feel good for him to get that done on Sunday.
It's got to feel great.
So the situation, though, with the points, though, even with Alex Palou picking up that win. Sorry, not Alex Palou. I meant Pato O'Ward. Lord have mercy. Y'all forgive me.
You're not forgiven. 5-second penalty.
5-second penalty to Ocon. Lord have mercy. And I blame y'all for not now, that's my fault for typing all fast. But yeah, O'Ward actually Stroll hit me. Yeah, O'Ward picked up the win. I'm so sorry. O'Ward has 2 wins, but I think that just kind of underscores what I was going to say. The McLaren team in Formula One has been not Formula One, IndyCar. Lord have mercy. IndyCar has been they haven't been much of a factor this year. Outside of a couple of races, and now they pick up this win, and it may be not enough time to get it done for the championship, but Pato now has a win in his belt and has the opportunity to end the season on a high note.
I apologize. I was zoned out there for a minute. I was
come on, Chris. Come on, man.
No. It's a good thing though, because I was kind of retweeting out, what we were talking about IndyCar, and then I saw a video. It just said, "Turn up the volume and enjoy," and it's 1 minute and 52 seconds of the 3-liter V12 Ferrari from the 1995 Formula One season, and it's just that beautiful V12 sound going around, and it was, I'm sorry, I just got lost in that.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing sound. I hope that the Cadillac V Series R is there.
It might.
I can probably play a second of that clip.
Well, let's hold that so we can finish the IndyCar before we wrap up. We are heading into
V12.
Give me a second. We do have a couple more races in the IndyCar season to get to, and a lot of those are going to be on ovals. We'll have 2 races in Iowa, and then they'll be interspersed between road courses at the Toronto Street Course and Portland before we go to St. Louis, the Milwaukee Mile, and Nashville to end the season. Always fun to see the Indy cars on ovals. Wish we had a little bit more of them, but does bring in drivers into play like Joseph Newgarden to play a little bit of a spoiler here in the championship, and hopefully bring folks like Will Power back to Alex Palou, because going to the second half of the season right now, Alex Palou kind of got the horseshoe from Scott Dixon, and he's put a whooping on him so far in the second half of this season.
Yeah, he has. So he's definitely going to need to do a rebound to catch back up to Palou.
And the race will be in Iowa. That'll be the short track, the High V Home Front 250. There'll be 2 races on Saturday and Sunday. July 13th will be a night race, and the Sunday race will be during the day. We will have our extra mile picks out online later on this weekend. You can see the race on NBC. And Chris, before we close out, show us some IndyCar sound. Or, sorry,
no, Formula One.
Yeah.
All right.
Formula One.
Just a second. All right.
Music to my ears.
That's not
That's a perfect sound to go out on. Just an excellent Formula One sound there at Monza. But it's going to be a nice racing weekend. We'll have Pocono. We will have Iowa this weekend. No Formula One this week, but we will also have the WEC at Interlagos. So we'll be checking that out as well. But hey, we're getting ready to get out of here. Jen, what's coming up for Show of the Land on Tuesday?
The All-Star break for baseball and hopefully a new hockey coach.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. They're dragging their feet. The season training camp starts in like a month and a half.
Yikes. And there's still no coach there. I think that's Columbus, right?
Yes. They hired the new GM, and then the new GM fired the head coach and decided to focus on the draft before hiring a new coach. So
that sounds backwards, but okay.
I agree.
All right.
Hope it works out for him.
Yeah, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works for them. But hey, check that out on Tuesday. Jen, it's so happy to have you back, and can't wait to go rolling for the rest of the season.
Yes.
So we're going to get ready to get out of here. Remember to follow us at the Extra Mile IESR on Twitter. Remember, I'm at DK Junior 12, Chris at Fiji Sims, Michael at Michael Scoreboard under 25, and Jen, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Believeland Girl.
Hey, make sure you check out iSportsRadio.com. Get some nice merch from iSportsRadio.com/shop, and check out our wonderful sponsors, Seal the Deal Wax Seal and Planet Jerky Premium Beef Brisket Beef Jerky. So thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Extra Mile. For Chris, Jen B, and Michael, I am Darryl. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, we will see you next green flag.